when it was just effortless to feel joy? If you're like most women my age, you're just too exhausted from people pleasing, from sacrificing for other people's happiness, or just overworking to even remember what that felt like. My guest today, Dawn Drew, Joy and Ease with Dawn Drew, is here to help us reconnect with our soul. She is here to give us solid tips to reconnect with our essence and who we really are at our hearts, which is joy. Welcome to the Midlife Reset podcast. This is episode number 52, and I'm your host, Cheryl Gordon, yoga therapist and mindfulness coach. And I'm really excited to have this conversation because, girlfriends, you have so much love to give, and you really should be starting with yourself. So let's get in. So, hi, Don. Welcome to the Midlife Reset podcast.
It is a delight to be with you and your listeners today. Thanks for having me on.
I was pretty excited when I discovered your work on Substack because that's how I published this podcast. And I loved what you're calling your work, joy and ease. Can we talk more about that?
Oh, absolutely. Like many of us, when we hit midlife and we've been raising kids and, working hard with our career and probably, oftentimes we're the ones serving in our community, in our faith communities and in the school systems and, yada, yada, yada. Um, I think for me, I woke up one day, like so many of like, this is not taking me where I want to go. And I had a friend at the end of one year going into the next year who said, "Hey, what is it that you want to leave behind that you don't want to bring into the new year?" I knew right away. And I named it, and it was people pleasing. I was
People
just
pleasing.
done with the burden of people pleasing. And then I took the next year saying, I'm not going to people please. And I watched myself do exactly that. And I had to
Hmm.
stop and say, what just happened here? We've all read the books on boundaries. And I just kept discovering my beliefs, the things that had me going into self-abandoning. And I realized,
Yeah,
listen, that I needed to care less about other people. How could I stay connected with myself? And so it
yeah,
was this great year. And then the following year, I did the same exercise of, okay, what is it that I'm going to leave behind this year as I go into the next? And that wasn't the right question. What bubbled up
okay.
was, what is it you want? And oh, it's like my very soul had been waiting. Like, thank you for
Really?
asking. And it was just joy and ease. And so it was a rearrangement of life of instead of suffering and sacrifice. The world didn't need my suffering and sacrifice, which was news to me because I had been living that as if it did, that the world would be best served by my joy. And I decided I didn't want to enter the world a beggar anymore. Please fill my cup. Please give me what I need. If I could go in by filling my own cup, bringing myself in alignment with joy and ease, then what I did in the world, it changed the very nature of what I did and infused my work in the world with that which was more important than it was being infused with suffering and sacrifice. A lot
I
better
think
coming from
this
joy.
is such a powerful message. And can we just take a little bit of time to unpack this? Because, first of all, you talked about people pleasing. I think so many women in our shoes can really relate to that. I know I was socialized that we shouldn't really take any time for ourselves until the whole house was clean, until everyone else was fed, until all the overtime at work was done, everyone else's desk was cleaned up, you know. So, give me some examples from your world, Don, where you really thought, yeah, I'm people pleasing again. That year you tried to leave it behind. What came up for you?
Oh gosh. And it's actually in my book. I have a book out called Join These. Are you ready to change your life? And I wrote down all of these ways that it's like, oh, some of it was simple. Like there were ones that were simple with observation, with awareness to change. A simple
Right.
thing would be like, you are obviously uncomfortable, and I feel like I need to rescue you from your discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, 90 seconds, they say 90 seconds on average will let an emotion past. And so if
Right.
I can be uncomfortable with your discomfort for 90 seconds, if I can just last out and be quiet for a moment, I have probably gotten myself out of the danger zone.
That is
So that
such a
was
good
easy.
point.
Yeah.
This is going to be so hard to keep our conversation to a nice tight conversation because I just want to jump on everything. So this whole idea about someone else is upset or not feeling well, and as women in particular, I think we feel like we really have to make it all better. We judge
Yeah.
ourselves on our ability to make everyone else happy and better. So you
Right.
say just stay 90 seconds with that discomfort, and then
Yeah.
what happens?
It will pass. It will pass because we learn to quiet ourselves. We go too quickly into action. And one of
Mm,
the things, when you begin to do this work and you start to make these changes, you realize you're being disrespectful of other people. We think
yeah.
that we're rescuing them, but that is a form of dishonoring. And we're not serving them, we're actually serving ourselves. And so I
Ah,
had to look at going, ooh, this is kind of icky. This is a little entangling. And so I was committed and being committed to my own joy, learning to stay on my side of the street. I had to learn to handle my own emotions. And when I began to handle my own emotions and be able to build capacity for them, I had far more capacity for other people. They can feel uncomfortable. How about we both observe? Sometimes they're needing a moment to think, and it's not even discomfort, it's just me being uncomfortable with emptiness.
yeah.
And so we have grace for ourselves, right? We practice. One of my favorite phrases that I end many of my Substacks, with a point of practice. And so we practice. It's
Yeah.
about courage, curiosity, and compassion.
In yoga, we have there's a famous teacher from the 20th century. All things are coming, do your practice. So it's in the yoga world, it's very much about just stay with it day in, day out, be observant and mindfulness. I love the idea that you said about allowing some stillness, allowing that point of quiet to let another person's experience unfold naturally. We're very uncomfortable with that, aren't we?
We are. We
Hmm.
so it's just will we be committed because it frees us from so much if we will be still? What are we trying to outrun?
So there's the first little test or the first little practice that we've uncovered in our conversation that we can give to our listeners, and that is allowing space.
Mm.
Whenever you're in the urge to act, to offer advice or action to, drive somebody, allow them to just have 90 seconds to see what comes up. Now, the other thing you mentioned in our little opening comment was suffering and sacrifice. I think this is such an important thing for women to talk about because we have been a bit socialized that we're the ones that hold it all together. And I
Mhm.
think as you get to midlife, you just don't have the capacity for that anymore. Your brain is literally rewiring and does not want to do that anymore. So how
Totally.
can we move Dawn out of this attitude of I earn my value in life because I sacrifice and suffer for others?
It's a great question. For me, as someone who's very empathic and running that through my body, what it feels like. And, I'm a mom of four. I've been an entrepreneur for years. And so when I think of the difference with my children, when I am with them in joy versus in suffering, how does that make them feel? And when I realized me suffering and being sacrificial bred more shame and guilt, it was not the heritage I wanted to give my kids.
Yeah.
And so this is not about selfishness, right? And we have quite a movement of like, no, no, it's okay to be selfish. It is being intentional. It is being in alignment with our core values. And so we hear a lot about putting our own oxygen mask on. And as women, I got to tell you, starting this work is like, I don't know how to do that because I have all the reasons in my head that I can't. The world needs me to show up this way. Heck, most of us, by the time you get to our age, we have built a system, we have built a life on everyone around us, relying on us suffering and sacrificing ourselves to make their
Mhm.
lives more comfortable. And so it can begin in a small way from, you mentioned stillness, 5 minutes. When my feet hit the ground, I'm going to take 5 minutes to myself. It could be making the commitment that when I eat my lunch, I'm actually going to take a lunch break. I don't care if it is only 15 to 20 minutes. I will not be checking my phone. I will not be checking my email. I will not be multitasking. And I will let my nervous system settle down and give myself the gift of 15 minutes to myself. My crew, when I ran a whole crew with my staging business, they knew I would set an alarm on my phone because I love getting things done and I push through and I'm, active. And I would have to set an alarm on my phone to stop. And they all knew, they held me accountable to it. Ah, your alarm just went off. Stop, sit. And my crew would help me like stop right there. And I'd be like, no, 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 let me just finish one more thing. Nope, stop, just stop. Or if you have to hit the snooze because you need 15 more minutes to, finish the task so they can really be present to a break, we can develop small tools because I didn't want to get to the point where I needed the great big vacation that then I came down sick
Yeah.
before I left and then I came
Yeah.
home exhausted. The thought of, it is it is the maintenance of learning how to pace our life so that we do our check-ins, how does this feel? Um, I'm I talk about the truth triad a lot, becoming aware of our thoughts, because with people pleasing, if we stop and say, why did I say yes here? We're going to find the reason behind. Oh, we don't want people to think we're not nice.
Oh,
Oh,
heavens, no.
oh, good. And so I'm a big journaler. We get to unpack that. Is that the most important? Is there a way around this? How can I honor myself? Because I am not serving others if I am doing it with resentment. Committing yourself to notice when you are resentful, not blowing past because our emotions are telling us we are not in alignment with this moment. And so if I'm resentful, I am doing something I believe you should be doing for yourself or that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Tell me, when has it ever served someone? Anyone who has kids, do you have children, Cheryl?
I have two boys and two
Okay.
grandsons.
Oh, yay. And so if they go empty the dishwasher and they get the job done, but they are slamming cabinets and they are clanging dishes and we are in the other room gritting our teeth, do we feel served? No, we'd rather just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So when we go in the world, we may think we're covering up better than we are because it infuses what we do in the world. And so
Yeah.
make a commitment to just, it can be that small. When am I resenting? And not shaming myself that I shouldn't feel resentful. Our emotions are signals to what is going on. Are we out of alignment? Are we holding a belief like jealousy? I talk about jealousy. What a great emotion to have. And oh, that's a terrible thing. But it's like,
Oh, we would never want to admit to that, Dawn. We're
yeah,
nice girls.
we're not me, not more. Um, Jealousy for me shows me that you got something that I feel you don't deserve, that I want, that I don't think I can get. I got a
Ah,
belief that says that I can't have this. You got it and it's not fair. And so I have to kind of back that up and say,
yeah,
what is it in me that's feeling like you getting something highlights my scarcity? What needs to change
yeah,
in me? And so when we stop judging our emotions, we have now opened the door to a whole lot more awareness if we
yeah.
will sit with those things and not gloss over them. I have women who reach out to me who are like, help, can you recommend a book? Because I find I'm really grumpy with my husband all the time and I don't want to be. Tell me more. Well, I feel like I'm doing more than he is, and so I just don't want to feel that way anymore. And it's like, sweetie, your emotions are your friend. Are you doing more than you feel? Like, are you in resentment? I'm not going to give you a book to teach you how not to be resentful.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, lean into it and ask some questions, bring some curiosity. And then what courage do you need to take steps to make changes? How much compassion can you have on yourself for the fact that you have not learned this yet, that you have found yourself in the same place? And compassion for the practice,
Mhm.
compassion for the person as you're learning on them. They are your practice partner.
Yeah.
Maybe
And then
your
that
favorite.
takes that husband who's not picking up his socks or whatever he's doing to drive you crazy. That takes him into somebody that you can actually be grateful for because it's an opportunity for me to go to my next level. This is such a huge topic, I think, Dawn, because so many women, I think, are pissed. I know that my mom's well into her 80s, and her generation, for a great number of them, they grew up angry because they didn't have very many financial opportunities, career opportunities. Um, they were dismissed as just the little woman. So they were very angry. And then I came into the workforce very late 70s, very early 80s. We were trying to be everything that men were, but still get the kids to daycare, go to all the school appointments, keep the house perfect, host dinner parties, buy everyone else's Christmas presents. And I think my generation's really pissed too. So this resentment, we're carrying it around and it eats away at our souls, doesn't it?
It does. And then our kids are pissed with us for the model that we've set.
I only have sons. I think it's different if you have daughters, but I have noticed since I've been going through kind of my midlife reset and talking more about emotions and stopping trying to fix everything for everybody in my family. My sons and I have had some more open conversations about how uncomfortable even they are with my resentment, my sacrificing. They're so excited for me in the last couple of years that I am just saying no to babysitting. Not that I do that all the time, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not just waiting for the phone to ring, that I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be here to cook Christmas dinner because I'm doing la la la. And the boys are happy for me. I
I'm so.
imagine if I had daughters, they'd be really doing handsprings.
Mhm. Yeah, it's the world is changing and this is a multi-generational collaboration. Our moms owning up. Many of us grew up watching our moms be sick,
Oh
resentful,
yeah.
taking the heck out of their little snide remarks, just discontent, disappointment. Maybe we have been pushed because they thought it was all going to be fulfilled in us.
Yes. Hmm.
And so we've watched this and we've learned and we've moved the needle some, but we still grow up with a system. In our lifetime, we didn't have credit cards. We didn't,
Hmm.
without our husband's permission. I remember in doing a flip, a remodel, I had one of the vendors that didn't want to meet with me alone. He wanted to make sure the decision maker was there. And it's like, okay, you are not my person I'll be working with. And
Yeah.
so now, can we go into that world without resentment? Again, curiosity is such a great tool. Own our power, have compassion, because as I'm seeing this, I have three daughters and a son. I am looking at this going, I thought I was resolving all of this so that my kids would not have to deal with this. And the truth is,
Mm.
they move the needle and they're just asking more questions. I think, well done. Well done.
Yeah.
You get to turn back and have compassion because you were living in a world I did not live in.
Yeah.
I still came from strong patriarchal structures in my faith tradition, in my home, where you obey your father and then you go and you get married, you get your MRS degree at college, and you don't need to understand finances because your husband's going to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so we're the most we can do is do the work that's in front of us. You don't have to be
Yeah.
someone else. You don't have to be on a podcast. You don't have to write a book. What is the work that's in front of you? And by simply asking questions and taking moments to observe, you are moving the needle because the world needs each and every one of us and our light. And every one of us together create change. And that's a very hopeful thing.
Yeah, and it's such an important point. Don, I want to just ask a little bit, if you don't mind, about your background. So you started out in real estate, right?
Actually, I have quite a varied background. I was a performer and a music teacher, and so I took a role traveling in the United States performing, and then I settled down here and stayed home and had kids and did the single parent thing, and then got married again, and I started a home staging business. And so I ran that for many years and had a crew, and then decided I would also get my real estate license. And so I currently hold my real estate license, still do staging and design. But then I'm developing on the side what I call my soul coaching because we need wisdom keepers. We need people who will speak. My heart is for women like me.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
beautiful. So lots and lots of experience comes into the wisdom that you're sharing today.
And this is, you and I talked a few minutes before, connecting for the podcast. And so, that when I speak about joy and the commitment to joy, that is in the midst of real life. It's not like life hands you this, like easy for you to say, you are financially stable, you have, the perfect children, you have, strong marriage. The people who can really carry joy, it's the commitment we make to ourselves in the midst of a life that is imperfect. And life has a way of testing us. Will you Will you dig deep and find the joy here? Will you weather the fire of transformation and allow yourself to break open? And I think those are the people that I really enjoy listening to at this stage. It's not the
Yeah.
people with great ideas, those who have been tested and come through. There is a light that really shines that has withstood darkness.
Yeah, that resilience is such a good message for earlier in the new year. Because the truth is, it doesn't matter how glitzy, we were talking about envy earlier, it doesn't matter how glitzy or glamorous you think someone else's life is. I promise you, at least half the time it sucks.
Oh, only
At,
half.
at least half, at least.
Sometimes more. We have our
Yeah.
places of our own shadow side that we don't like to look at,
Yeah.
right? Where we stop judging it and say, okay, let me look this full in the face. And this too can be transformed by love. And when we can do that with ourselves, we can do it more easily with other people. We don't need them to be perfect. We find
Mm.
those people who've stayed in our lives that do not change have been some of our greatest teachers. And I was thinking about this when my daughter and I were coming back from visit with some family members, and my daughter was like, "Oh my gosh, how could you be so compassionate in the midst of such terrible treatment?" And I thought, I'm so thankful. Like it didn't even occur to me um, that would be any different because I thought the very fact that I've had to love you and do that when you weren't going to change was the thing that taught me to love without condition. Thank you for
Yeah.
being my teacher. Now, that's not to say we don't set boundaries because there's a safe distance that we stand in order to love well and keep our own stability. Again, that commitment to joy. And when
Yes.
I
And
too close to
ourselves.
fire, I start blistering. This is not healthy for anyone. So I step back a little bit and I find the distance at which I can love you while loving myself.
Yeah.
Because the goal is to
Oh,
leave.
can we just pull out that quote? That's such a good quote, Don. This is the distance that I need so I can love you while still loving myself. Oh, yeah, that's such a good quote. I love that. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm sure you have lots more of this wonderful, wonderful languaging in your book. Tell us about your book. Why did you write it? Where is it? How can we get it?
Well, it was, you can find it on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. Um, it is a book that really was wanting to pass on the journey that I was on of saying, whoa, this is not how I want to live, and taking on people pleasing and going, so that year of going, what the heck just happened here? I came up with like, I don't know, 12 different w things that were triggers for people pleasing. And I thought it was not this, just set boundaries. It was this like, oh, I have triggers. And when I become aware of the triggers, then I have a choice point that I didn't have before.
Right.
And I didn't have to practice perfectly. And so making that commitment to love and being healthy relationship, I knew that if I did not have healthy relationship with myself, how do I do that? How do I anchor in myself? Then I can have healthy relationship with you. So the first part of my book is about my relationship with others and coming out of people pleasing, which I keep practicing. And then the second was, wow, I need to really learn how to connect with myself. So it was about connecting with my thoughts and observing my thoughts, connecting with my emotions, and having to deal with all the critical beliefs I had about emotions that had to be managed and controlled, that they were going to lead me astray, that they didn't tell me the truth. Oh, I was like, is that true? Is that true? And so you will find just little sections with all of these. Let's challenge these myths about our emotions. Is this true? Is this not true? And so I give some practical, how do we work with this? How do we begin to connect? And then you'll love this, connecting with our bodies, because our
Yeah.
bodies cannot, right? And so sometimes my head is telling me one thing, I don't know how I feel, I don't know how I feel. But then when I take a thought and I put it in my body and say, how does my body feel? Oh, I right away have clarity. That does not feel good. Mm-mm. So I know that's a no. Well, then I have to problem solve of how can I do this in a way that's congruent with my values? How can I do this with kindness and love? But the answer is no. Right? So relationship with others, relationship myself, and then relationship with work and the world. And I
Ah,
had to take on this idea of work, earn, deserve, right? Like we work
yeah,
because we are earning and we must deserve. And that might work in a monetary system, like we exchange goods and services. But what does that say systemically about my value in the world? And does the world really work that way? Or is there an energetic reality behind this material world? And how do I align with what I want to come in versus I have to work to make it come in? And so that was the part that was probably hardest for me to write because that was the one that I was like, I don't necessarily get all this myself, but boy, I'm leaning in to ask questions. And I know what I am seeking is real. I am transitioning, and all I can do is lead you with me to challenge some of our assumptions and then give you some tidbits from me as a woman entrepreneur and saying, what are my core values? How do I align with that? Because whenever I give the farm away and I abandon my core values, I am not staying in my highest and best.
right. And your energy shows it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
your energy reflects that. And people respond to that because we are primitive beings, really. We work on that level of not even body language. It even goes deeper than that. Well, Dawn, this is amazing. I can't wait to see your book. I'm going to order it as soon as I get off from Amazon. We will put the link in the show notes as well as a link to your Substack. Is there anything else you'd like to just say before we say goodbye today?
Oh, I just wish everybody more joy and ease. And I think you can't go wrong. Our highest investments that we will get the best return on investment is in ourselves. And
Yeah.
the quality of what we bring to the world is dependent on the quality of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So learning to prioritize our joy and well-being is our highest service.
Amazing. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for having me.
Hey, girlfriend, I'm so glad that you're listening to this podcast. But I wonder if you wanted to take the work a bit deeper. Would you like to feel lighter, sleep better, and wake up energized again? Join my 60-minute free masterclass to learn the 5 steps that help me lose 25 pounds, reset my body, and finally feel calm, strong, and confident again. You can register on my website, and I really hope to see you soon.